Hi, I'm Al Pickett, and welcome to our special program, Behind the Scenes, a look at Brothers Keeper, the movie. As you well know, Chad Mitchell and I wrote the book, Brothers Keeper, about the 2009 Abilene High State Championship, now being made into a movie. And our special guest in town today here at Shotwell Stadium is Todd Randall, who is the director of the movie that is in the process. I'm going to start, Todd, with the easiest question of all, the same question I get asked everywhere I go. What's the latest on the movie?
The latest on the movie is myself and my production manager and my executive producer are all here in Abilene, and we're putting together the shoot that we're about to do here in the next few months to finish up the Brothers Keeper film.
Now, people may not know you've already shot a good part of the film. Talk about how that process went about.
So the company that I work for, Winter State Entertainment, is based out of Owatonna, Minnesota, and my executive producers, Hamid and Camille Torpor, are the ones that have been working on this project, working with you and Chad behind the scenes for many years.
Yes.
And I was just fortunate enough, kind of right place, right time. I'd been working for Hamid and Camille in a kind of commercial production capacity for a while, and I'd done a lot of work in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area in terms of documentaries, music videos, pretty much all that stuff for my entire career. And I was just fortunate enough for them to ask me to do the film. And at first I was a little hesitant because I'm honestly not a football guy. But they said, you know, this film it's not 100% a football movie. It's really more about what these boys go through to play ball in this town. And after I read the script and worked on the script for a while, I really fell in love with the story of Brothers Keeper and what it means to not only the town of Abilene, but our country and our world in terms of the message of what it is to be our brother's keeper.
I think that's the message that a lot of Hamid and people have brought to us, is they want this to be a bigger message than just a football state championship story.
That's right. Yep, that's absolutely right. And it honestly is. I mean, Abilene is, you know, notoriously a tough town for these kids to grow up in, and they're kids on these teams from all walks of life. There's, you know, they come from upper class neighborhoods, middle class neighborhoods, and then there's some real poor folks too. And they're black kids, there's white kids, and there's brown kids, and they all walk onto that field and work hard together to, you know, play ball and do the best they can for their town and their school.
So you were able to film the inside scenes simply because inside in Minnesota looks the same as inside in Abilene, right?
Yeah, that's right. You know, Hamid and Camille wanted to be present for all that stuff, and we'd been working in and around Owatonna for several years, and so we had a lot of connections there, and it kind of made sense for us to use our network and the people that we knew in the Minneapolis and St. Paul area to come on board and help out with the film. And so, yeah, most of the stuff that we shot was interiors. And, you know, so right now I've got about 70 minutes of the film edited together in rough format, and I'm really, really looking forward to shooting the rest of this stuff in Abilene. This is where we're going to get the scope, the grandeur. We're going to see the stadiums. We're going to see the town, and we're going to, you know, knit together the rest of the story for the film.
So what happens now when you come to Abilene to actually shoot?
We're here right now, we're doing our pre-production work. So we're talking to our local businesses and our sponsors and shaking hands and making sure that we know the people that we're working with. We know that that goes a long way, not only in Texas, but all over the place, to get face-to-face with folks and let them see who we are, what we're all about, and make sure that they're happy with how we're moving forward. And in terms of what's going to happen when we're here is we're shooting all the big stuff. So the opening of the film, the football games, the hits, the tackles, the plays, all the kind of epic moments that you remember from the 2009 game, that's what we're here to finish up.
I think people may not realize, but really the focus is on the Cedar Hill game.
Right.
When Abilene High beat Cedar Hill, the #1 ranked team in the state, with an upset, and actually the third round, they went on to win 3 more rounds to win a state championship. How do you shoot the football scenes? I mean, are you going to use actual footage from the game itself, or are you going to recreate it?
That is honestly up for debate right now. I would personally love to be able to use some of the actual footage from the game. You know, there's a lot of scenes in the film where family members of the boys playing football are watching the game happening on television, and I think it would be fantastic to be able to try to use some of that original game footage that was shot for the real game. To weave that into the storyline and kind of let that play a little bit in the film. It's all remains to be seen for specific reasons. When we get down here, we have to make sure that the lighting's right and that the weather cooperates, all the things that you have to worry about when you're shooting a movie and you need the continuity to be correct. But it would be a real treat if we'd be able to use some of that original footage.
I watched a movie the other day about the Boston Marathon bombing, and they interspersed the actual race with recreated. It was really powerful. It was really dramatic. So that's a possibility of doing that kind of thing, right?
Right, and we've already done a little bit of that. You can see, obviously, behind you, we've got Lawrence and our Harold's barbecue scene kind of playing on the screens back there. And one of the really neat things about that scene is that Chad Mitchell was able to get all that stuff from Harold's and bring it down, and we dressed the entire set with the real stuff from Harold's.
Well, the truth be known, he got everything from Harold's but the hot water cornbread.
That's right. I wish we could have gotten that too, because I am a big fan of cornbread. I'm a big fan of cornbread. But you can see in there, it's like there's a shot at the beginning of that scene where you see the real Harold in one of the pictures on the walls. That hung in his real restaurant. So we're trying to use as much as we can to make this as an authentic experience as possible for all the folks in Abilene and everybody who watches it across the world.
Let's talk about Lawrence Fishburne. He's playing Harold Christian, the late barbecue restaurant owner. How unusual is it for a low budget film like this to get the kind of cast you ended up with Lawrence Fishburne, Abigail Hawke, who's on Blue Bloods, Milo Gibson, Mel Gibson's son, Glenn Morshower has been in a ton of things. I mean, how unusual is that?
I would say it's probably pretty unheard of. The great thing about Hamid and Camille is that, Hamid is a go-getter. And I've known this about him since the first time I ever worked with him. He will call anybody, talk to anybody, and he works his tail off to literally make dreams come true. I mean, I never in my life 5-10 years ago would have thought that I would be working on a set with Lawrence and Milo and Abigail and a Corrier and Carter and Jermaine, the guys that play Boo, Rundell, and Herschel. I never thought that I would be working with the caliber of actors that I'm working with now on a feature film about a football team. I never thought that would have happened.
The Lord works in strange and mysterious ways, right?
And so getting Lawrence was a lot of hard work on Hamid's part, and I think Lawrence read the script and learned about the story and knew what it meant to the community and to the world at large. I mean, one of the things Coach Warren talked to me on the phone about was I asked him about some of his favorite pictures from that season. And, he told me, I've got this picture on my desk, and, it's of a black boy and a white boy and a brown boy, and they're all holding hands, walking onto the field together. And I thought, what a great image for what our country needs, what our communities need, and what our world needs right now. There's a lot of division in this country. All those issues aside, this is a story about what people can do when they persevere through all the things that are hard for them in their personal lives and their lives together. And when those boys walk out on the field together, there is no race, there is no creed, there's none of that. It's them working together, having each other's backs, playing hard and trying to win because it's what they love and it's what they're good at, and it's what they want to do for their town and their team and their brothers. And that's an amazing message. And I think people like Lawrence felt that and understood that, and so he came on and did the film and played the role because he loved what the story had to offer.
Obviously, where Brothers Keeper name came about, right?
Right, exactly.
Your first visit to Abilene, surprised, different? What's it been like?
It wasn't so much surprising as it was really exciting. I read the script, and it's one thing to read the words on the page, but to not be from the town and then to come to the town and actually see the places that you've been researching and looking at and reading about and working so hard to tell the story, to actually see it and be in it and be around the folks in town and to feel the Texas hospitality that Abilene has offered us so far has been it's been a real pleasure and a real treat. And we really, we're hoping and we know that that the town of Abilene and the state of Texas will have our backs here when we come back to shoot and fill those stadiums up for us when we do our extras calls, and just be behind us in getting this film finished.
So when does it happen? Do you have a specific date of when you come to Abilene yet?
We don't have the dates locked in quite yet. We're working with all of our actors to make. We got a lot of actors, and obviously they're up there in the world of film and television, and so we're coordinating schedules.
You really have to work
with them.
around their schedules.
Yep, we're
right?
working really hard with them, and we've got a couple other exciting leads that we're working on too to kind of fill out the rest of the film here in Abilene that could just really amp up the film even more. So in terms of the shoot, we don't have that locked down quite yet. We're working really hard to make it happen as soon as we can, and then we're looking at like a mid-2019 release.
I was going to say, and the premiere, you can't really set that till when you finish up the filming.
Correct.
Of it, right?
Yep.
How long does this take once you've finished filming to get it to
a finished stage?
A finished stage, yeah.
It depends on the movie, and it depends on the staff that you have. I mean, I'm the director and the editor of the film, so I've taken all the scenes that we've shot, and I've been working for the last few months on cutting all the scenes together and fleshing the film out, and cutting stuff together for what the folks saw when we played it at the field, and we did our little sneak peek over there at the Paramount, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of cutting and watching and recutting and being very stringent in terms of how the film feels and flows and how the cuts work, and what scenes bookend what scenes, and so it depends on movie to movie, but there's a lot of things we have left after we knock out Abilene and get that finished. We have to cut all that together, and then we got sound to go through, color grading to go through. There is some visual effects in the film, so all that stuff has to get done before we're all wrapped up with it and we make it sound and look good.
My first question was, people ask me, well, what's happening? And then I always tell them, well, the thing I've learned about movies is I don't really know very much about movies. It's a complicated process.
It is. It's it takes a lot of organization. It takes a good eye and kind of a taste for storytelling in a visual media. And I've worked really hard my whole career to come to the point to make this movie, and I want to make it the best I possibly can for Abilene, for the kids that really experience it, that the story's about, for Chad Mitchell, for everything that he went through to make this film happen, make the story happen, tell his stories, because these are the stories of every kid in this country. They're the struggles of our youth. They're the struggles of our real lives, and they're laid out there in this film format for everyone to see. And it's not all roses all over the place for everybody. And I think it's important that people see that.
And there'll probably be 12, maybe for 11 or 12,000 for San Angelo Central Friday night.
Wow, that's gonna be great. I just love how big it is. Big Texas football. It's really,
this stadium
exciting.
was built in 1959 after Abilene High was the team of the century. They won 3 state championships in a row, and they built this, and it was patterned after Rice Stadium, where they held the 4th Super Bowl. And that's, of course, not nearly as big, but that's how it was designed for this. And so I mean, next year is the 60th year of this stadium.
Yeah, and it's kind of stood the test of time, hasn't it? I mean, it looks like it was built yesterday almost.
Yeah, it added turf and did the scoreboard and built new dressing rooms and new restrooms. So it's been updated, But it's a great old stadium. It's held state championships. All 3 colleges have played here at one time. They all have their own stadium now, but they've played at different times here. And so it's been a lot of great games at this place.
Yeah.
In fact, did you know the longest field goal in the history of football was kicked in this stadium?
Really? Well, do tell. I got to know the story.
Ove Johansson of Abilene Christian against East Texas State in 1976 kicked a 69-yard field goal.
What? That's amazing.
Ove Johansson, he was a Swedish foreign exchange student and had never seen a game of football until the year before, and he was a soccer player and came to ACU, went out for football, and he kicked right here going to that south end zone. He kicked a 69-yard field goal, and that's still longer than any field goal, NFL, college, any level.
Well, so I got a funny story for you to share about a field goal kick. So when Glenn was shooting his stuff in Owatonna and we were doing some stuff on the football field, Glenn showed us that he could kick some field goals too.
Really?
Yeah, and that was really fun.
Had he been a football player in his day?
Well, I think he had kicked a few footballs in his time because he was able to set that ball up, and you know he is very, very young at heart, but he's not a young man anymore, and he was able to make that field goal, and it was pretty impressive to watch.
Imagine, can you imagine 69
yards though?
Yeah.
That's a long one.
Yeah.
Glenn, I want to see you come out and try for a 69-yarder.
Played at Birdville Stadium.
So we're shooting Shotwell for Birdville.
Yeah.
Is what's going to happen because we want to keep it in town.
So you'll probably not be able to. You have to cover up Shotwell Stadium sign on the press box.
Yeah, we don't know exactly what we're going to do, but we're going to.
Because I don't think Birdville Stadium even says Birdville anywhere on it.
No, I think I heard that it's because they serve 3 or 4 different teams.
They do serve 3 high schools: Birdville High School,
yeah.
Richland, and Haltom.
Yep, and it's so that one's unbranded.
It is one other interesting story you may not know that's not part of the movie, but the very first game of the season that year in 2009, Abilene High played a Saturday morning game, a late morning game, because we had a thing called the Champions Classic that's played here, would have 3 or 4 games, and the opening kickoff, Herschel returned 90 yards for a touchdown. So that's how the season began, en route to winning a state championship.
That's awesome.
From that end zone to that end zone. So.
Well, I mean, he definitely says that he's able to run that ball in the scenes we've already shot.
He could run the ball pretty well.
I'm looking forward to seeing a Courier really do that for real on screen and play up Herschel the way he ought to be.
Of course, in the movie, when on the Cedar Hill, the play of the game after we had the goal line stand, which I'm sure is a big part of it, and Herschel goes 95 yards for a touchdown. So. Absolutely.
What's your name, man? I'm Eric. Eric, how you doing? You gotta have something to eat. Come on, you got to keep up with me now. Y'all see this? No matter what they say, no how, no way. They can holler up on Cedar Hill all they want. They don't know us, ain't that right, Coach?
Yeah, that's right, but for real, we can beat these boys.
That's what I'm talking about.
You mentioned you've been in the business a long time, but this is your director debut, right?
This is my directorial debut, that's right. And what a way to start. I mean, I couldn't have asked for anything better.
One other thing about the football scene, if you film football scene here, how do you choreograph? You don't shoot a whole game. You have selected plays, and you're going to be...
That's right. I mean, the script is laid out the plays pretty well, and we're working with Coach Warren and the coaching staff, and then we have stunt coordinators and folks that have done a lot of football films to get everything that we need to really make the game feel as authentic as possible and stay true to the real game as much as possible.
Well, I will admit, having written the book now 9 years ago, and then to see it to come to fruition to a movie, it's kind of hard to believe. I mean, I have to pinch myself occasionally.
Right.
It's remarkable, isn't it? What else do we want to make mention of that we haven't talked about?
Well, I think one of the, we talked about Lawrence, but I'd love to just touch on the other cast, and especially the cast that folks don't know quite yet. Working with Milo was a real treat. He works really hard. He cares a lot about Chad's story and making sure that he's trying to stay true.
He's playing Chad
Stay true
Mitchell.
to Chad as much as possible. And Chad and him, hadn't even met each other. And when they saw each other for the first time at the hotel, it's like they knew right away. Chad knew that Milo was Chad, and Milo knew that Chad was Chad.
They look alike.
And they look a lot alike, and they sound a lot alike, and they have some similar mannerisms and things like that. And then so working with Milo was great. Abigail, who plays Ashley in the film, what a sweet and wonderful soul she was. She worked really hard to do the best she could to play Ashley, and she was a real joy to work with. And of course, she works with Tom Selleck on the daily. And so, having somebody like that has that breadth of experience behind them to come in and help you portray this film the best way possible is fantastic. Noel Gilliam too, he was great to work with. Such a gracious person, and was wonderful with his time. And me being a new director, there was some times when we run long, and I'd go and I'd apologize to Noel, and he'd be saying, "Hey man, it's cool. I've done this for a long time. It's like, I understand things take a lot of time." And so he was really great to work with. But the guys that I really want to touch on are Carter, Courier White, and Jermaine, and they play. Jermaine plays Boo, and Carter plays Randall, and Okorie plays Herschel, and they were amazing to work with. Those guys, they're going places, I'll tell you right now. So working with those boys, Okorie, Carter, and Jermaine, and then the other guy I should definitely mention is Nicholas Delgado. He plays Boo's brother, Zay, and I was just blown away by their commitment to their roles and everything that they brought to the table with their characters. You know, I called all of my actors, big and small, Lawrence, Glenn, everybody, and asked them questions about their lives and what they care about outside of film, and had some really great conversations with them. And one of the things I told everybody is, like, because we're doing this at the budget level we're doing this at, and because we hadn't had as much time as we would have liked to really work with each other before we got started, that I was going to lean really heavily on my actors to bring as much as they possibly could to the table, and really nail these roles. And man, did they pull it off with flair and panache, and I'm just so excited to come back to Abilene and finish the shooting and knock this movie out of the park and make it something really special.
And Glenn Morshower, who plays Coach Warren,
right,
actually even looks a little bit like him.
I definitely got to mention Glenn too. I mean, Glenn is one of those folks, like you said, he's worked on everything.
He was in Moneyball.
Yeah, I mean, he's the general that you see in every movie. But I thought the thing I told Glenn that I loved about Glenn was that he was in all of the Star Trek series in at least one episode as a day player. All of them.
I did not know that.
From the original all the way through. And I was looking at his IMDb, and I was like, oh my gosh, he was in all these Star Trek movies. You know, because I'm a nerdy dude. You know, I like Star Wars and Star Trek and that stuff. And I told Glenn, I was like, that's the thing I loved about it. It was like, yeah, you were in Transformers, but you were in all the Star Trek stuff too. That's so cool. And Glenn was amazing. You know, Glenn is he's been in the business a long time, and when I talked to him on the phone, you know, he was very down to earth and very real and cordial, and he had wonderful feedback to give me while we were working. Great ideas on the set, and it's just, I just couldn't have asked for a better cast and crew. I can't forget to mention my crew because they were incredible. I've said this earlier, but you know, we're working on this movie as a very low budget film. I mean, a low budget film in Hollywood is like a $5 million movie. We're nowhere even close to that. You know, and we've got Milo and Abigail and Noel, and we've got Lawrence, and we've got Glenn, we've got all these amazing people. And you know, because of the budget level and the time that we had, our crew really worked very, very hard to just bring everything that they could to it while we were shooting in Minnesota. And we became our own brotherhood. Everybody had everybody's back, and we all struggled together, and we all cried together, and you know, we all tried to solve all these problems the best that we could, and make this film the best we could, because they all really, really care about telling the story the right way.
I guess that's a big thing people need to know. This is going to be an in-theater,
right? That's what we're looking for.
Movie,
yeah.
Right? I mean, even though it's a low budget,
right,
low budget movies have had great success over time.
That's right, and you know, it may be a low budget, but we've worked really, really hard to make sure that it doesn't look or feel that way. And you know, Abilene is really going to be the icing on the cake in terms of what we shoot. That's going to bring the scope up. It's going to give us that, you know, the grandiose big Texas football that we're looking for, right?
So I guess the big thing is we'll be letting people know when they need them to come extra and be fans in the stands.
We're going to be reaching out to you, Abilene. We need you. We need you to have her back. We need you to come out in spades. You know, we need you to fill out those stadium seats for us so we can get those amazing wide shots. We don't want to do it with CG. We want to do it for real, and we need the town to come out and help us out when we put out those extras calls and make it happen for us.
Todd, welcome to Abilene, and we can't wait for you to come back and start filming.
Al, thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Todd Randall, the director of the movie Brothers Keeper, and that's a story behind the scenes of what's happening on the movie about the 2009 Abilene High State Championship.
What's your name, man? I'm Eric. Eric, how you doing?
You gotta have something to eat, but you got to keep up with me now. Y'all see this? No matter what they say, no how, no way. They can holler up on Cedar Hill all they want. They don't know us, ain't that right, Coach?
Yeah, that's right, but for real, we can beat these boys.
That's what I'm talking about.